Sorry, just waiting for everyone to join.
Yep, we'll give it a few more minutes.
All right.
And if everyone could have their cameras on, that'd be great.
Will we have a live classroom just like yesterday or no?
Yeah, we will.
Actually, today
All
will
right.
be a lot of exercises, so we'll be using it quite a lot today.
All right.
I think we can get started. For those of you who are new and haven't came on Saturday or yesterday, please fill out this form. That way we can give you guys programming access and programming resources.
Yeah, if you guys have access to the presentation, you guys can just scan the QR code whenever you guys are free. And then, yeah. Okay, so hi guys. So today is going to be your third day of the Java Bootcamp. And today we're mostly going to be talking about different types of loops and arrays. So here's some memes to get us started off with. And first we're going to be talking about what a loop actually is. So usually when you guys are writing out your programs, you're usually going to have a specific portion of the code which you're going to want to have repeat multiple times in order to do something. So instead of just copying and pasting those same lines of codes over and over again, usually what we do in Java and other languages are that we put them in something which is called a loop statement. So basically, loop statements are going to allow users to execute statements multiple times. So usually we use loops for a cleaner and more concise code because, as you guys can imagine, if we're copying and pasting the same code over and over again, it's going to get really lengthy and really messy in a short amount of time. So usually in Java, loops are going to keep running until a certain condition is met. So in these two examples we can see over here, our first example is that while the number is greater than 1, we're going to be running certain lines of code. And the loop is going to continue repeating until the condition becomes false. So we can see an example on the next slide. And this is going to be our first type of loop, and we call this one the while loop. So basically in a while loop, everything inside this while loop is going to be run while a condition is true. So this condition is going to be in the parentheses next to this while over here. And every single time before the block is run, this condition is going to be evaluated first. So let's look at the example of this while loop over here. So the first thing we're doing is we're setting some random integer value, I, and we're setting it equal to 0. And the next thing we're doing over here is we're creating a while loop. So inside this while loop, as you guys can see here, all we're doing is just printing out the values of I and increasing it each time. So this code inside the while loop is going to run as long as I is less than 2. So we can go about this methodically. So our first line here, we have int I is equal to 0. Then we go to this next line over here, while I is less than 2. So since our value of I is 0 right now, 0 is obviously going to be less than 2. And since this condition is true, it's going to go inside this while loop over here. So we're going to do system.out.println, I is equal to, and then this value of I. And basically, so the first thing we're gonna do is basically just gonna print out this value of I. So we're gonna get the output as I is equal to 0. And after this line, we do I is equal to I plus 1. So I is basically going to be equal to 0 plus 1, and then I is now going to have a new value of 1. And as we go down to this curly braces over here, we're going to repeat back up to this second line over here. So while I is less than 2. So now from this line over here, we now know that I is going to be equal to 1 because we just added 1 to it. So while 1 is less than 2. So this value is obviously true again. So we're going to go back inside this while loop again right now. So we're going to do system.out.println I is equal to, and then the value of I. So now our value of I is 1. So now our output is going to be I is equal to 1. And then as we go down to this line over here, I is equal to I plus 1. Our value is now going to be I is equal to 1 plus 1. And now I is going to be equal to 2. So after these curly braces end, we go back to this while statement again. So while I is less than 2. So now I is going to be equal to 2. So it's going to read out as while 2 is less than 2. And then 2 is not less than 2. 2 is actually equal to 2. And so now since that this condition is now false, we're going to go out of the while loop. And we're basically going to now, yeah, that's the end of our program. And you can see that the only two things that were outputted is I is equal to 0 and I is equal to 1. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, we can continue. Okay, so this is the first exercise that you guys have. So the first thing you guys are going to do is you're going to type out the previous slide's code. And then the thing that you're going to change is you're going to change the starting value of I, and then see what happens when you do that. And then one challenge for you guys is, can you guys make the program not print anything? And then the second guys you should do after you're done with the first step over here is change the while condition and see what happens. And your two challenges for the second step is, can you make the program not print anything? And can you make the program never terminate? So I'll go to the previous slide so you guys can copy this code first.
Which classroom are we in right now?
It should be called day 3 on
Okay,
coding rooms.
I'll try again.
I don't see any classrooms.
Yeah, it says there aren't any classrooms.
Hold on, I'm logging into my student account right now. I'm checking. No, I see it. It's called day 3.
It says there are no live classrooms at the moment.
Let me quickly check.
Same.
Oh, yeah, okay. So can you go to the previous click? Oh wait, sorry, it's not even previous. Yeah. Oh, wait, Arnav, I think you created it under like our account, not under the course.
Okay, let me just make a new one real quick.
All right. That's why I can see it through the programming account, but I can't see it through.
All right, it should be created now.
Yep, we see it.
Also, one quick thing for later. If you ever copy something from the presentation workspace, just make sure your cursor is like, or you don't have text left over like that's selected over it, because whenever you leave it like that, yeah, like you can just see it. You can just see it, and it gets a little, whatever the word for messy is. Krish, to do your exercise, click the My Workspace button at the top. That's like your own private area to program. And then, of course, as a quick rundown, if you need any help, just raise your hand or unmute, and then that way we can help you out.
Every time I use the raise hand button, it says we need to like upgrade our accounts to like premium to use that. So
Are you with the school account?
yeah, like
Okay.
for the coding rooms.
Oh wait, in coding rooms. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
don't raise your hand in coding rooms. We meant to raise your hand in Teams.
Okay.
Could you guys move it back to the previous slide for a second? Thank you.
By the way, the directions are on the presentation workspace for coding room. So if you do need a clarification on what they are, right there.
Yeah, and whenever you guys get finished with the exercises, just raise your hand on Microsoft Teams so we know that you guys are done.
I'm assuming all the people raising their hands are for if they're done. No one has issues yet?
Do we? Oh, I'm sorry.
In the meantime, may I ask a question?
Sure,
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I was just wondering, in general, how would you call upon a different method? Like, let's just say, because let's just say I wanted to like call on a different method within So could I make a method within a method, in a sense?
We'll get to methods on day 5. I believe today's day 3. We can talk more. Java methods are a little bit more complicated than, let's say, like Python methods.
Yeah, because I was doing something yesterday where I had like a continuous variable, but it wasn't letting me call it on because it was in a static method.
Yeah, we'll talk about all that on day 5 and day 6. That's like far down the road. We're trying to get basic
right.
control flow knowledge down first. But don't worry, we'll get to that stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I also had another question.
Go ahead.
I was just wondering, like, let's just say you wanted to add like some timer before like a different like let's just say you want like a user input like just like let's just say 5 seconds after the thing has been printed or something like that. How would you do that?
That's another really complicated task. So like in Python, you just import like a time library. I don't think in Java it works a little bit more differently. It's a little bit more complicated. That's not particularly discussed in the bootcamp, but after, let's say, day 6, I can show you it if you remember it by then. Day 6, I can show
All
you.
right.
It'll make sense
All
then.
right, because I was just experimenting yesterday. I just wanted to see if I could like create like some sort of timed like answer sheet or something.
Yeah. It's just that Java is a little bit complicated in that type of sense.
Okay.
Okay, are most of you guys finished with the exercise? Okay, let me pull up someone's code real quickly. So I assume all you guys raising your hands are done. So anyone? Vishnu, would you like to present your code?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, let me pull up your code for a sec. Wait.
Just copy
Okay.
and paste your code into the presentation workspace, and he'll just show the presentation workspace.
Yeah.
And make sure you guys have your cameras on because we're using that for participation points as well. So if you guys could turn on your cameras, that'd be great.
So do I have to explain what I did?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, so So I changed the value of I to 2 so that the condition is always false right from the beginning. So it runs, but it does not get into the code, so it never produces an output. And then to produce, to produce an output constantly, I changed the statement. So yeah, so I changed the value of I to 3, and then the condition was that if the value of I is greater than 2, it goes on. So the condition never stops because the value of I is constantly increased by 1, so it never stops. That's it.
Okay, nice job with your code. So do you guys have any questions on Vishnu's code? Okay, I don't think so. So we can continue.
You guys can lower your hands if you guys don't have questions.
Yeah. Okay, so you guys have a second while loop exercise. So the first thing you guys are gonna do is you guys are gonna instantiate 3 strings. And then you guys learned about scanners yesterday, so you guys are gonna use your knowledge on scanners. And you're gonna create a while loop. And then each time you're gonna have the scanner ask for 3 people's names. And then you're gonna want to store these names using 3 different strings. And then when you guys are done asking and storing the names, then you want to print out the 3 names to the console. And we'll give you guys a few minutes to complete that.
Also, if you have your text selected in the presentation, unselect. Also, you can lower your hands if you don't have questions. And there's 4 of you. That's if you don't have questions.
Chris, do you have a question? You can just speak. Oh, okay. Just put it in the chat. Shimon, do you have a question?
No, sorry.
You're good.
Arunima, do you have a question?
Oh no, I erased it because I thought we had to do it when we were done. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So this was one of our more difficult ones. So I'm just gonna go through this one step by step. So okay, so basically what we had to do was we had to instantiate 3 strings and we had to use a scanner to ask for people's names. So the first thing, can you guys see my screen? You guys can see my screen, right?
Yep.
Okay. So the first thing we want to do here is we obviously need our scanner, right? So we're going to import java.util.scanner. Now it wants us to instantiate 3 strings and a scanner. So first let's just create our scanner. So I'm just going to name this scanner SC. And we always have to do system.in when we're doing scanners. So the next thing we need to do is we have to create 3 strings to basically hold our names. So I'm going to do string name1. And then I'm going to set it equal to just a blank value right now. So that's what I'm going to do for string name2. And I'm just going to make a name3 one right now too. Okay, and now what we want to do is we want to create a while loop and we want to keep asking the scanner for them to put in their names basically. So we have three names that we need. So I'm just gonna make a random integer value and I'm gonna set it equal to 0. And then I'm gonna make the while loop for this. So we want to ask the people their names 3 times. So I'm gonna do basically I is less than 3. Because it's gonna run when I is equal to 0, I is equal to 1, and I is equal to 2. So we'll get our names 3 times then. Now we want to ask the people basically to put in their names 3 times. So I'm going to use system.out.println. And basically I'm going to ask them, please input your name. Now basically when int I is equal to 0, we're going to want name1 to basically hold our string value. And when I is equal to 1, we're going to want name2 to hold our string value. And basically when I is equal to 2, we're going to want name3 to hold our string value. That's why we created 3 different string variables. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use different if statements. I'm going to do if I is equal to 0. And I'm going to do name1 is equal to sc.next. And I'm going to do else if. And if I is equal to 1 now, then we're going to want this name2 variable to hold the value. So I is equal to 1. Then we're going to want name2 is equal to sc dot next I. And finally, when I is equal to 2, and we're going to want the variable of name3 to hold our value for the string. And now one important thing to remember is that if we don't want our while loop to keep running forever and ever, then we're going to want to increment our I right after this. I is going to be equal to I plus 1. And this is so that the value of I can keep on increasing. And so that finally when I is equal to 3, we'll get out of here. And yeah. Okay, and now after basically we got all our names, now we want to actually output it. So now we can do system.out.println. And then we can do name1 plus, and then name1. And we can print that out. And we can do the same thing for name2 and name3. So if I can copy this line. This is name2. I'm going to do the variable name2. And then I want the variable name3. And yeah, and now we save our code. Whoops. Okay, and let me check if they want anything else. No, they don't. So let's try running our code now. So please input your name. I'll just put in my name. Please input your name, Bob, and Drew. And now you can see it printed out name1 as Nihil, name2 as Bob, and name3 as Drew. So does anyone have any questions on the code that was just shown?
I think we have a question from Krish that I think is worth addressing. Would it, his question was, wouldn't it be else if, then else? So like, why did you use, if you go back to the coding rooms real quick now,
Yeah.
why use else and not, or why use else if for the last statement and not else? Do you want to explain it, or do you want me to explain it?
You can explain it if you want.
Sure. So else if, we have to think here. What is the difference between else if and else? Else if is declaring that otherwise, if the above conditions are not true, then that condition, if that condition is true, then go. So for this one, else if, it's saying as long as I is not 1 and as long as I is not 0, because then it would have got passed to those if statements, then if I is equal to 2, then do this. And the reason why it works is because 2 is going to be the last and only other statement besides 0 and 1, right? There's I is never going to be anything except 0, 1, and 2. And if it's not 0 and 1, it's going to be 2. So in this scenario, where it's only down to these three values, else if I is equal to 2 and else are the same type of statement. Does that make sense? All right, cool. And then another thing I wanted to quickly do is, you see how, go to line 37, Hill. You want to show them the better way of doing that, the simpler way?
Oh yeah. So
There are two
instead of
simpler
doing
ways.
oh yeah. So one way is instead of doing I is equal to I plus 1, instead what you can do is you can just do something which we call an increment. So you can just do I plus plus. And then that's the same thing as writing out I is equal to I plus 1.
And then if you don't want to increment by only 1, how would you do it?
Oh, if you wanted to do like...
What if I wanted to do I equals I plus 2?
Oh, then what you can do is you can do I plus equal to, and then you can do 2. That's the second way you can write it out.
Also show them the way to how to de-increment.
Oh yeah, if you guys want to decrease by a certain number, so let's say if you guys want to decrease by like 5, right? So you can do I minus equal to 5. And it's the same thing for like multiplication too. Like I times equals 6. That makes sense, guys?
Does anyone have any questions?
Okay. If not, then we can continue with our presentation. Okay, and now we're going to be talking about our second type of loop, which is called a for loop. So for loops are similar to while loops, except they're basically a little more organized than a while loop. So basically, you're going to have 3 separate parts of a for loop, which can also be present in our while loop. So the first part is going to be an initialization expression. The second part is going to be a termination expression. And the third part is going to be an increment expression. And so let's look at the initialization expression first. So for a for loop over here, we can see that inside the parentheses, the first thing we have is highlighted in green. That's going to be our initialization expression. And so the initialization expression, one thing to keep in mind is that basically this is going to be where we're declaring our variable for the for loop. So since we're declaring it, it's only going to be run once. So you guys can see in this example over here that for our initialization expression, we use the variable int I is equal to 0. And this int I is going to only be present in the realm of this for loop over here, because we're only declaring it for this one entire for loop. So the second part of a for loop is going to be the termination expression. And so the termination expression is going to be the same as the while loop. And so what that means is that, as you can see in our example over here, I is going to be less than 10. That's our termination expression. This means that basically as our for loop is going to run until as long as I is less than 10, basically. So when I equals 10 or is greater than 10, then it's going to come out of the for loop. And the final portion is the increment expression. And then this is going to tell us by how much I is increasing each time. So the increment expression and the termination expression are both going to be run and checked each time we run the for loop, while the initialization expression is only going to be run once. And you can see that our while loop also had an initialization, a termination, and an increment expression, but it was placed in different locations. So if we go back to this slide over here, so we can see here int I is equal to 0. This was our increment expression. Our termination expression was in this while loop over here when I is less than 2. And our increment one is I is equal to I plus 1. So in the for loop, we put all of them in the parentheses, which is why it's a little more organized to be using a for loop. So does anyone have any questions on for loops?
You basically answered my question. I was gonna ask if for loops were just the basically the combined like version of while loops, because they're basically the same thing as far as I can see.
Yeah, it's basically just a combined version, and it's a bit more simpler to use for loops than while loops.
All right.
Okay, so now we're gonna have basically conventions that you should follow when using for loops. So one thing to know when you're using for loops is something which is called the iterator variable. So this variable is basically going to be defined in our initialization expression. So for example, on the previous slide, the iterator variable is going to be I, because that's the one which we're initializing over here. So it's basically the iterator variable is going to follow normal variable name restrictions. So as you guys learned on day 1, it's going to be following the same name conventions as regular variables. But then usually when we're using for loops, we want to name the iterator variable after different letters. So for example, we usually start from the letter I, and then as you have for loops inside for loops, you'd continue on. So like J, K, you'd go through the alphabet over and over again. And yeah, we start with I, so it goes in that order. And here are some for loop memes that you guys can laugh at. More for loop memes. And this is going to be your first exercise for loops. So basically we had our while loop exercise. So basically convert that loop into a for loop. And then basically you guys should experiment with changing the starting value of I, and then try to make the program not print anything. Play around with the termination expression and the increment expressions too. And when you guys are doing that, you can try to make the program not print anything or try to make it not terminate. And also when you guys are changing your increment expressions, basically try to make I increment by a number other than 1, like we showed you just a few minutes ago. And also try to see if you guys can make the program never terminate. So we'll give you guys a few minutes to do that.
Also, just a quick reminder, if you have your thing selected on the presentation workspace, just click out, or else we're going to have very colorful code. Oh yeah, Nahil, can you go to the previous slide? I have the directions on the presentation workspace.
Oh yeah, sure. Slide?
Yeah. Oh yeah, this one.
Question mark, do you have a question?
No.
Alright guys, and a reminder for this exercise. Basically the while loop that we want you guys to convert is not the while loops 2 exercise. Basically remember this while loop we had over here. Basically just try converting that into a for loop and then mess around with it, see what you guys can do.
When I made the programs never terminate, my console broke.
Yeah, refresh the page. I suggest if you
Alright.
made it not break, I feel like like really fast click the start stop button so that you might have a chance of not having to restart your console. But yeah, it's
Alright.
interesting stuff.
Yeah, my entire browser almost froze.
Just a reminder, make sure you have your cameras on. A few of you turned them off, so make sure you guys have them on.
I think Shamant has a question.
Oh no, I just raised my hand because I was done.
Alright.
Okay, guys, I think we can go through the presentation now. So does anyone want to share their code out? Okay, David, do you want to paste your code in the workspace?
Sure.
Okay, cool. So David, do you want to explain what you did?
So I had a for loop and then actually first the scanner. I don't know why I have that thing. So first the for loop and then the variable and the condition and then the incrementation. And right now I is 1 and then the loop will keep running until I is less than 10. And then it goes up by increments of 2 and then right here it stops at 9.
Okay, so by changing like the initialization one, could you try to make it not print anything? How would you do that if you didn't want it to print?
So
By just changing this part over here.
oh, okay.
Okay, so perfect. So since int I is going to be equal to 10 and the termination is I is less than 10, 10 is never going to be less than 10, so it's not going to print anything. Nice job. So changing the termination expression over here, could you try to make it not print anything? Yeah, so since I is greater than 10, it's basically not going to print anymore. Also, by changing the termination, could you try to make it like basically like continuously keep going? Perfect. So since 11 is greater than 10 is always going to be a true statement, it's basically never going to stop. The for loop is going to keep on repeating itself over and over again. And finally, using the increment, could you try to make it not print anything? Okay, and this is gonna continuously print. But yeah, if you change the 1 to an I, and then you make it plus equal to 9, then yeah, it's not gonna print anything. Nice job. Also, could you stop the program, please?
It stopped on my screen.
It stopped on my screen, bro. You better refresh. Your
Oh,
browser's
bruh.
about to crash.
My console's like permanently not letting me run anything.
Refresh.
I
Yeah.
tried. I
Or
tried.
like
I even
exit
went
out of
out.
the tab, and then like go back in.
All right.
Okay, I think that's all the exercise asked you to do. So nice job, David. Okay, so now we can go to the next exercise over here. So your guys' challenge is to write a program that prints 4 rows of number as shown below. So it's gonna print the 1, then it's gonna print on the next line. It's gonna print 2 2, then 3 3 3, and then 4 4 4. So this is gonna be a massive brain stretching exercise. So we'll give you like 10 to 15 minutes to do this one. And we have a hint for you guys on the right. And then your hint is basically to use one for loop inside another one. And then if you guys follow like this blueprint over here, you guys should be able to get it. So we'll let you guys work for a few minutes.
If you guys have any questions, be sure to raise your hand.
Or just straight up unmute.
So is it gonna keep printing these four numbers, or is there a limit?
Make it stop after 4. So just make it print 444, and then after that, the program stops.
Okay.
Okay, so some of you guys have finished the exercise. So, okay, so Teja, could you copy your code and put it in the main workspace so we could all see it?
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay, and Teja, could you explain what you did, please?
Yeah, so I just used the basic layout that was in the slide, and then I instantiated a first I integer, and then I also made the max number to 4 because I wanted the triangle to be go up to 4, and then I also had j for the second for loop, and then I had I made it so that the j integer would be maxed out to would basically the for loop would keep going until it reached the I or integer, and then it would play out. So it would just print the same when I run it. So it would just go 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, and 4, 4, 4.
Yep, that's perfect. So do any of you guys have any questions on Teja's code?
Do any of you want us to help you with your code? All right, I think you can go on.
Okay. Okay, so we have a final for loop exercise for you guys, and for this one, you guys are going to be using all different types of loops. So basically, you're going to have 4 different tasks, and you can use either for loops or while loops to do these tasks. So your first task is to print all values from 0 to 10, and do so by incrementing by 3. Your second task is from numbers from 0 to 10, print all the values which are even and incrementing by 1. So one thing to keep in mind that when you're checking for basically which numbers are 0, use the modulus over here. The modulus is basically going to get like the remainder of like division stuff, right? So if your number modulus 2 is equal to 0, that means your number is going to be even. So this is one thing that you should have in your program for the second step. Your third task is to print the sum of all values from 0 to 50. And define a sum variable before the loop starts, and that's where you're going to store the loop. And make sure to print the sum value out after you finish summing up all the values. And your final task is to print the value of 8 factorial. So if you don't know what 8 factorial is, it's basically 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. So while you're printing 8 factorial, use either an incremental loop or a decrementing loop. And then make sure to have a factorial value variable outside of the for loop before you get started. And yeah, we'll give you guys maybe like 10 minutes to finish this exercise.
So for each task, do we need to do a while and a for, or just?
You can choose. So, like for example, if for one of them you want to do a for loop, you don't have to do the while loop. Okay.
I just wanted to say, for some reason, my coding rooms is frozen, so I can't like access it at all for some reason.
As in?
Like, I don't know, it's frozen, it's not letting me click anything. So I've just been doing it in VS Code. I just wanted to let you know, so.
All right. If you can, have you tried like closing the tab, reopening it?
Yeah.
That's awkward. Have you tried closing the browser and reopening it?
No, I'll try that.
All right.
My thing frozen. It's not letting me input anything else.
Did you try refreshing the page?
Yeah, I did.
Did
Let
you
me take a
exit
look.
out of the tab?
Yeah, I did.
Restarting the browser?
Nope, I haven't.
Yeah, go ahead, try that. If that doesn't work, that's awkward.
All right.
Yeah, I tried closing the browser and everything, but it's just frozen. Like, I don't know why.
Can you screen share?
Sure.
Here now.
I can try.
All right.
Yeah, so I tried screen sharing and the browser just crashed, so I'm not sure.
That's awkward. Do you have like a second browser that you can try coding rooms on?
Yeah, I can try.
I believe all Windows computers ship with Edge.
Okay.
All right, it's working from Brave.
All right, cool. Is that like a different browser from what you originally used, or is that?
Yeah, it's different. I normally use Edge. I use Edge sometimes for like coding because not a lot of stuff is supported on Brave. But yeah, apparently this is.
Okay. Whenever you get the chance, I don't know if you know how to do this, but whenever you get a chance, just try and clear the cache for coding rooms and just.
All right. Yeah, I'll do that.
See if you can do that. I think that'll probably fix it. David, I think you're saying you're done by raising your hand, or do you have an issue?
I'm saying I'm done.
All right, cool.
Sanjay, can you screen share again? Or Nihal?
Sanjay.
Nihal, my bad.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so I think we're good now. So everyone who finished, can you guys please raise your hands? We're aiming for like at least like 6 people to raise their hands. Okay, so Arunima, could you paste like basically what you did for this first task over here into the main coding room?
Oh, I'm the one whose coding room is not working.
Oh, are you the one which is using VS Code right now?
Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to screen share your VS Code?
I'm doing VS Code on a separate device because it's not working on my laptop.
Okay.
My bandwidth's low, I think that's why.
Okay. Okay, so Soham, could you copy basically the code you had for this first task over here and put it in the main programming room?
Yeah, sure.
Nice. Okay, so could you explain what you did for this one?
So for this, I just made sure that it prints all values from 0 to 10, excluding 10, and then the increment is 3. So
Yeah, perfect.
mhm.
So let's just try running it, I guess.
All right.
And yeah, perfect. We get 0369. Okay, so Alan, do you want to copy the code for the second task and put it in the main programming room?
Is it the one where like only even numbers?
Yeah, only the even numbers.
Wait, so yeah.
I put it at the bottom.
Huh?
I put it at the very bottom.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay, so could you explain what you did?
Yeah, so I did. So I did I equals 0, and I did a while loop for numbers up to 10. Then if I is an even number, then it prints I out.
Okay, yeah, perfect. So yeah, let's try running this code now. So perfect. We're only getting the even values 0, 2, 4, 6, and 8. Nice. Okay, and so the third task was to basically print the sum of all values from 0 to 50, not including 50. And Adbayan, you have your hand up. Could you please paste your code for the third task?
All right. I don't think it's not letting me paste it. Maybe like move on to someone else, I guess. I don't think it's letting me paste it.
Oh, it's fine. We can just. Is it in your student workspace?
No. I went into a different workspace because that workspace wasn't working.
Okay. Was it in coding rooms, or are you using something else?
I'm using coding rooms, but
Okay.
I'm using like the the individual workspaces, like not the one that's in the day 3 programming.
Okay. So if you want to stick around after our presentation, then we could help you get into like the day 3 one.
All right.
Okay, so I guess Vishnu, could you paste what you had for the third exercise?
Yeah.
Nice.
So it's the sum of 50, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I basically created a variable called sum to contain the total sum, and then I increased the value of I from 0 to 50 one by one, and then I added each value to sum, and then displayed the value of sum at the end.
Okay, this is perfect. So let's try running it. And yeah, as you guys can see here, the sum of the first 50 numbers is 1,275. So does anyone have any questions on Vishnu's code?
Just a quick pointer. There's nothing wrong with the code. The code's completely fine. Go back to coding rooms.
Yeah.
You'll learn this later in math, but sum of all you see on line 26, sum of all values like square bracket 0, comma, round bracket 50. The round bracket means exclusive, so it'd be like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then the square bracket means inclusive, so it'd start at 0. It would include 0 in this like list of numbers, so it'd be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then as we're approaching 50, so like 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, and that's where it stops. It doesn't actually go to 50.
Oh, so Java uses set notation?
No, that's just what we were asking.
Oh, okay.
The code's completely fine. There's nothing wrong with the code.
Yeah, so yeah, if you just remove the equal to sign, then you'd have from excluding 50, the sum. And yeah, it'd be 1,225. Okay, and I guess for the last exercise, you have to print the value of 8 factorial. So David, do you want to paste your code for that one?
Okay, so
Nice. Okay, so David, do you want to explain what you have here?
So I set the made a variable a product and made the value 1 and then f in the for loop, and then f is less than or equal to 8, f plus equals f plus 1, and then the product gets multiplied by f, and then at the very end it will get the product. Wait. Yeah.
Perfect. So the value of 8 factorial is 40,320. Does anyone have any questions with what David has? Okay, if not, I guess we can move on then. So now we're going to be learning about something called arrays. So in Java programming, you guys are most likely when you guys are programming, you guys are going to have different variables. And then most of these variables are going to be related to one another. And since you have a long, basically like a list of them, then you might want to like put them in something which is called an array. So an array is basically a finite collection of related data. So for example, in one of the while loops exercises we did a few slides back, there were like a lot of names that you had to store, right? So like the name 1, name 2, and name 3 that we got from the scanner. So if you wanted, then you could make basically like an array of basically string values. So you'd be storing the different string values inside an array. So you'd basically have a collection of all the names that you guys collected. So in type-strict languages such as Java, all of these items have to be the same type. So what this means is that you could have an array of like all string values, right? So if you want an array of names, you could have like Bob, Jeff, and Drew inside your array. But what you can't have is that you can't have like a string and then you can't have an integer in the same array as these. Every single thing inside your array has to be of the same type. And you can think of an array as like a bucket of variables. So like a collection of many variables that are basically related in some way. And we can see from this picture of indexes and values, which we'll learn about on the next slide. So actually, on this slide, we're going to be talking about how we're going to instantiate or create arrays. So you can see the syntax of basically a Java array is going to be your type, and then square brackets, you're going to have your name is equal to new type, and then basically inside these square brackets, you're going to have the size of your array. And if you don't want to assign like a size, and you just want to assign like the different values, then what you're going to do is you're going to have type square bracket and then the name of your array is equal to, you're going to put curly braces, and then you're just going to make a list of all the values you have in there. And so for example, we can see these three expressions or these three examples over here. So our first example is going to be of an array called array1. So we have our type, which is int, and then the square brackets. We have our name, which is going to be array1, is equal to new int, and then 15. So this is going to be an array of size 15, which only holds integers. Our next example is with a float type, and then we're going to have the square brackets, and we're going to be naming this one array2. and we're going to be setting it equal to a new float, and in these square brackets, we're going to have 80. So this is going to be an array of 80 different floats. And finally, for the last one, we have Boolean, square bracket, array 3 equals new Boolean 1. So this is going to be an array with just one value, and that value is going to be a Boolean. So now we're going to be talking about how you can access different values in an array. So one thing that you should know is that array indexing starts at 0 in most languages, including Java. So what does this mean? So we can see in the example at the bottom over here, we can see how many squares or how many spaces there are. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So our array length or array size is going to be a value of 10. But then the index is going to start at 0. So that means this first position over here, it's going to have an index of 0. The second position is going to have an index of 1. Third position is going to have a value of 2. And then it keeps on going like that until you get to your 10th value over here, and that's going to have an index of 9. So what you need to know basically is that for an array, the first value is going to be at 0. So you can see in this example over here, we have in square bracket array equals new int of size 10. So that's just like what we have in this picture over here. And then array square bracket 8 is going to be equal to 226. We're going to be setting the 8 value of the array. So this is basically, this 8 value is going to be your index. So we're going to be at the 8 index over here, which is actually the 9th space in the array. And as you can see here, that's the 9th element. So does anyone have any questions on accessing arrays and indexes and stuff like that? Okay, if not, then we can go to different examples of accessing arrays. So over here, we're going to be setting an array of the type double, and we're going to have 3 values in it. So we're going to fill up the array. We're going to set the 0th position to 2.26, the first position to 1.18, and the second position to 2.54. And now our array is filled up. So now if we wanted to print out some values, we could do system.out.println of array2, array of index 2. And so this print statement is going to give you a value of 2.54 because that's what we set on the top over here. And you can set values of arrays again. So right now our array at the 0th index is going to be 2.26. But on this bottom line over here, we're going to be setting array of the 0th index is equal to the array at the first index plus the array at the second index. So now our new 0th value is going to be 1.18 plus 2.54. Does anyone have any questions on this?
Dwight, do you have a question?
Yeah, I had a question. So are arrays kind of like data sets?
Yeah. Basically,
Alright.
you can hold like different types of data in them, and then you can access it whenever you want to.
Only difference is this one is type strict, so only one type of variable can be in there. So whether that's all doubles, all integers, all strings, that type of thing. And then it's also limited on how many numbers you have to be. You have to declare at like when you instantiate it, or when we went to like double array equals new double, and then square brackets 3, we're telling the computer this array is never going to hold more than 3 values.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. But do you know like any other way where we could like hold like oh yeah, we could probably just make it all doubles, and then we can just do like 0.00 if we need to, right?
If you want like infinite number of things.
Not infinite, like you could just do like 0.00, like just to put like an integer into the array, right? If in case you like
as in like array square brackets.
no, like as in like if you make the entire thing like doubles to put in like integers, you can just like put in 0.00. Like 2.00 would be like an integer, so that would work, right?
Oh, like making the double array an integer array.
Yeah. So like if
That
you
we'll
want to put
learn.
an integer,
That is something that you can do. It's called casting. We'll learn that later when we do methods, I believe. Day 4, day 5.
all right.
Okay, that was a great question. Does anyone else have any questions? Okay, I guess not. So here are some array memes. And now you guys have your first exercise on arrays. So what you guys have to do for this one is repeat the exercise from slide 6 using an array of strings. So slide 6 was basically the one where you guys used the scanner to ask for everyone's names. So now for this one, basically store all your names inside an array. So yeah, using the scanner and the while loop, have the scanner ask for 3 people's names, store these names inside an array of string values. And then once you guys are done storing the values, then print out the names to the console. And you guys will have a few minutes to do this.
So, do you have a question?
No, I'm just raising my hand because I'm.
All right.
Wait, I'm confused. Where are we creating the 3 string variables? Because like in the slide, in the code you pasted, there weren't like it was another um exercise.
We put them in the array.
What? Sorry, I
You
didn't hear.
don't need to create 3 strings. What we're telling is replace the 3 instead of creating 3 strings, create an array of strings.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay, so I think that some of you guys are done right now. So, Rohan, do you want to paste your code into the main?
Yeah.
Nice.
Do you want me to explain it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I'll try running it first. Oh.
You need to import the scanner.
Yep. You can type, okay, so I start off by making a scanner and then creating the variable I for the while loop. And then I created an array of strings with the size of 3 since there's 3 names. And then it's pretty much the same as the last exercise from here. It just asks what's the name, and then if I is equal to 0, then it sets the first variable in the array to whatever the user inputs. And then the same goes for the rest of these. It's just the next variable, the next variable. Then afterwards, I created a for loop to print out all the variables in the array.
Okay, this is perfect. Like, there's nothing wrong with this code. But then, one thing you could do to make it a bit more concise is that, since basically like your I value is going to be like your index, right? So instead of doing like these if statements, one thing that you could do is that you can just do R, and then you can have I, and then you can have it equal to scan dot next line. Because since our index value is going up each time, every time you want to set the array index, it's basically going to be a different number. So like the first time it's going to be setting array of an index of 0, and then it's going to be setting an index of 1, and then it's going to be setting an index of 2. So unlike the last exercise, we don't need the if statements this time. Even if you did add the if statements, it would still work as you saw when you ran your code. But then instead of making like the if statements, we can just set it to like the I value as the index. And let's try running it again to make sure it works. And yeah, as you can see, even without the if statements, it would still work. So yeah, perfect code, perfect explanation, Rohan. Does anyone have any questions on this code?
I had a question.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I kind of did the same thing he did, but I noticed that he was like typing like instead of array ARR. Is that how we're supposed to do it? Because I think that might have been the error I had.
So in which part did you type array?
Like for like my whole thing. Like should I not type array and just ARR instead?
So
Did you make the
variable
name array?
Yeah, human is a variable name.
Oh, I mean, it should still work if you use like, you can name your variable like anything. So even if you did have array, as long as when you're like calling the array, basically, if you're using this variable name, it should still be working.
Okay, thank you.
Is your code working or is it still giving an error?
It's working now.
Oh, okay, nice. So does anyone else have any questions?
I just did like I wrote my code without writing the second for loop. I have one while loop. Can I paste it because it works like when I tried?
Oh, do you want to share your code too?
If it's okay.
Yeah, nice.
Okay. Should I?
Yeah, just paste it in here.
I'll paste it instead of this.
Yeah, nice.
Okay.
Okay, so do you want to explain what you did?
Okay. So at first I did kind of the same things. I initiated a like I to 0, and then I made a scanner called SC, and the array as with the variable name. I mean, array name is array. itself and of 3. And I started the while loop. So since it starts at 0, it should have 3 names under this while loop. So system.out, I printed line of what is your name, and I just assigned whatever the user types to the I value of the array. So if it's at 0, then that's the first name which goes in. Then right after that, I incremented I by 1 because it's a while loop, so I have to do it there. And right after that, outside the while loop, I put this instead of the for loop which you had. So I had system.out.println as array 0, 1, and 2 because like those are the 3 values of the array.
Yeah, this is the second way that you can basically print out all the values. So, Mont, do you want to run your code?
Yeah, sure. Right. Oh, same thing.
Yeah, and you can see it still prints out everything. So does anyone have any questions on what Shamant did? Okay, if not, good job, Shamant and Rohan. And I guess we can move on then. Okay, so now we have a second array exercise. And write a program that finds the average of the values in an array. So what you guys are gonna want to do is you're gonna have to create like an array of integers. And then basically when you're instantiating the array, make sure you have curly braces and then just put like basically different values in the curly braces. And then after that, find the average of like every single value in the array which you created. So we'll give you guys a few minutes to complete that one.
For those of you who have to leave a little early, that's fine. If you guys want to just take it to either VS Code, or we'll leave this live classroom open so that you can just like practice your exercise. Of course, you guys have the slides, so just take the slides, do the, I believe we have 2 more exercises. Do those 2 exercises at home just to make sure you fully understand day 3 stuff. And then see you tomorrow, day 4.
All right then.
But that doesn't mean if you can stay, stay. We still have 2 more exercises.
Also for this exercise, if you guys need to find like the Java, basically like the function or declaration that gives you the array length, it's basically just your array name dot length, and that gives you the size of your array.
Also, whoever's selecting the presentation, unselect. I'm assuming if you have your hands raised, you're done with the exercise.
Okay, if you guys are done with the exercise, then is anyone else done with their exercise? And if we could get some new volunteers, that would be great. Okay, Alan, do you want to paste your code into the main coding room?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so could you explain what you did?
Yeah, so I put I equals 0, number equals 0, made an array and just put some random numbers in it. And I did a while loop for all numbers less than 5, 0 to 5, 0 to 4. And then I did num equals the number in the array plus the number. And I did I plus 1. And then while the while loop ends, you have to do number divided by 5 because there are 5 numbers in the array. Then you print out the average.
Okay, yeah, this is perfect. And one thing that I like to say is that like for example, if you have like an array of like a really large value, for example, or like of an unknown value, then what you can do is instead of like counting all these values like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, what you can do is instead you can do while I is less than, and then you can do array dot length. And then since the length of the array is going to be 5, then it's basically going to give you the same value of I is less than 5. And also when you're declaring the array, if you have just the curly braces, I don't think, well, basically you don't need the new int. I think it should still work if you have this declaration. Let's see if it does. And yeah, it does work. So this part, when you're basically have like curly braces and numbers inside it, I think it's optional. Like if we run it again, it should still work. Yes, it's just an optional thing that you guys can have. So nice job, Alan. Does anyone have any questions on his code? Okay, if not, then we only have 2 more exercises left for you guys. We have this exercise over here. So what you guys need to do for this one is create an array of 10 integers and create a loop that prints out all the values in the array. And basically, here's like the blueprint to do it. First, you declare your array. And then this is how you'd make your for loop. You do int I is equal to 0, I is less than array.length, and then I plus plus. And then you do the code inside the for loop. Okay, so I think we can have one of you guys present now. Okay, nice. We have a lot more volunteers now. So Zara, do you want to paste your code into the main meeting?
Yeah, sure. Give me a minute. Okay. And oh, wait, hold on. Yeah, that should work.
Okay, nice. So Zara, do you want to explain your code?
Yeah. So I created an array, I named it number, and then just like picked 10 random numbers. And then with the for statement, so like until I is great, it like, okay. So each time this loop continues, it'll add 1 to I so that for every number in our array, it'll print it out. So
Yeah, perfect. It prints out every single value. And yeah, good job, Zara. Does anyone have any questions on our code? Okay, if not, then we're gonna end our presentation right here. Good job, everyone. And remember, if you guys have any questions on like today's content in general, or if your guys' VS Code wasn't working, please make sure to stay after class so we can help you guys with it. I think it was Arunima and yeah, Arunima, did you have any questions on like your VS Code? Weren't you one of the people who had any some problems?
Yeah, as of now, it all seems to be fixed. It seemed to be like a bandwidth or network issue. So, yeah.
Oh, so your VS Code issue is fixed now?
Yeah, and coding rooms works now too.
Okay, nice. Okay, so if anyone else has any questions, please like stay by so we can help you. Otherwise, class is dismissed for today, and good job, guys.
Yeah, good job, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
I also wanted to ask, you know how like we had the diagnostic test on Saturday? What if we can't make it that day at all?
So if you can't make it that day, we'll have another like makeup day during one of our like weekly programming sessions, so you can just make it up then.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So today I came to class a little bit late. Do you know where I would find the presentation for the class?
Yeah, so Mr. Two sent out a prospective members sheet, which has all the presentations for all the groups. So you should just look at that.
Is it just like, it says day 1 slides, is that it, or is it the team topics?
It's called day 3. I can just send you the direct link in the chat. If you look at the chat.
Alright. Thank you. So
Yeah.
wait, that's okay if I came a bit late, and
Yeah,
I
that's
think I
fine.
might be late on Thursday too, because I could be
That's
here.
fine. That's fine.
Alright, thank you.
Anyone else have questions?
Yeah, I was trying to, like, I was doing the next to last exercise, and I tried doing something different. Like, after doing the original one, I was like, I was trying out using user input for the arrays. Should I ask that now, or because it didn't work in one way and I almost got it to work? So that's...
You wanna basically paste your code?
Okay, yeah, sure. I'll just put it here then. Yep. So I made a few values of I, average, and sum. So basically the whole thing was instead of Oh, and also I imported util scanner at the beginning. So basically, it was just instead of me making the array, I wanted the user to input the values in the array and then take the average of it. So I had to start out as a string because it like takes in strings, I think, as what I perceived. So after that, I had to turn it back into an integer value because I'm trying to take the sum of it and increment the sum each time. So because like that's how I'll get the average, and that's how I'll be able to print the average. Sorry, this is supposed to be average. Yeah. So I tried. I searched online and I got integer.parseInt as the syntax as like the command for that, but yeah, I gave some other result.
Yeah, so this is a like the parseInt stuff is basically a bit complicated. Instead, what you could do is, so instead of making this a string, you could make this an integer array, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you want to get stuff in from the scanner, right?
Yep.
So instead of next line, what you do is you just do next int, and that will basically
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
And now do you want to fix your code?
And then I can just remove this whole part because I can just equate these two together. And yeah, I think it should work now. Oh wait, there's a couple of other issues. Is there anything in my code? Wait, is this part wrong? I don't.
No, it should be right. Anish, Arnav, do you guys see anything?
Oh wait, could you repeat that?
As in issues with this, I think he's using integer, right?
Yeah.
What remember if you remember this, oh jeez, I just drank water. What is it? Nihil, do you remember how integer division works and why it's awkward on Java?
Oh, because like it doesn't do like remainder, right?
Yeah, it doesn't do decimals. So the issue is essentially one of your two values. So the sum or the array length has to be a double in order for, and then your average, of course, has to be an output of a double, right?
Yeah.
Because it's going to be in decimal value.
Okay. Yeah.
So your sum, you can change your sum to a sum value and your int to or your average to a double value.
Okay.
And now it should work. It won't fix this error, but this will fix the logic.
This should be less than 5, right? 2, or sorry, 3.
No, just change it to 5. That makes average. Actually, no. Go ahead, change it to either one. Either one works.
Or you can just do your array.length.
Okay. Yeah, better. Okay. Nope.
Okay, cool.
There's something going on.
And scroll up to that. Scroll up in that console real quick.
Oh.
Oh wait, do you have two? Okay.
I don't know why. I guess
I'm blind.
It was before. I mean, before maybe there was another one from the previous program. Turn again. Okay. So,
try 1 1 1 1.
All right.
Yeah, there you go. And then if you try 1 2 3, it should give you like an output of like 2.0.
Yeah.
Actually, go 1 2 4. Go 1 2 4.
2 4 6, and yeah.
Try go even and odd so we can get like a decimal number.
All right. Cool.
Then I'll do it on my calculator.
4 2 1 4 3.
Okay, so 143 is like 8, right? 8 divided by 3 is 2.66. Cool. Yeah, that was. It's an awkward thing. Like let's say, and you do it in like Python or any other high level language.
Yeah.
Where it's not like type strict. Double is not like or integer division is not like a big issue because it does it automatically.
Yeah, exactly.
Here it's like a
type sensitive.
Awkward double.
Right?
Yeah.
Thanks for finding that though.
Yep, no problem.
Cool. I'll just oh wait, I have it already. You guys can delete it if you want.
Nice. Do you have any other questions?
No, that's it. Thank you. Oh, and also, does my camera look inverted to you guys?
No, it's fine.
No, it's good. It's
Okay.
good.
Yeah.
Because when you were sharing it, my camera looked inverted, so I didn't know whether it was sharing that re-inverted it, but yeah. Thank you. Bye.
All
Yep.
right.
Yeah.
Bye. We good?
Yep.
All right. Goodbye.
See ya.
See ya. Good class.
Yeah.